Hey there, before we get into the episode, just a couple of things. Make sure you subscribe so you get all the episodes to begin with. Also, join me for in-depth conversations at growth.com/community. That's grief, the numeral 2, growth.com/community. Another thing is on Substack, growth2growth.substack.com, where you can get a lot more content from me and actually engage with the community there as well. And now, onto the podcast. Close your eyes and imagine. What if the things in life that cause us the greatest pain, the things that bring us grief, are challenges? Challenges designed to help us grow, to ultimately become what we were always meant to be. We feel like we've been buried, but what if, like a seed, we've been planted? And having been planted, we grow to become a mighty tree. Now, open your eyes. Open your eyes to this way of viewing life. Come with me as we explore your true, infinite, eternal nature. This is Grief to Growth, and I am your host, Brian Smith. Hi there. Welcome to Grief to Growth, where we explore life's deepest questions and we offer hope, healing, and understanding for those that are navigating life's challenges. I'm your host, Brian Smith, and whether you're tuning in for the first time or you're one of our longtime listeners, I'm really glad you're here. Today, we're diving into a fascinating conversation with Nancy Yearout. Nancy is an author, a public speaker, a podcast host, and an angel medium whose mission it is to uplift humanity. As the host of High Road to Humanity, she uses her voice and her gift of connection to spirit to enlighten and to inspire. She's the author of Wake Up, The Universe is Speaking to You, and her latest work, A Guide to Angel Communication, Spiritual Law, is a profound guide to connecting with spirit, guardian angels, and the energies of the earth. Nancy's journey as a psychic empath, healer, and angel communicator brings her a unique relationship with Archangel Gabriel, whose messages she channels to guide humanity toward love, charity, and toward spiritual balance. In our conversation today, we're going to explore how you connect with your own guardian angel, the role of spiritual laws in creating a fulfilling life, and the transformative power of angelic guidance during times of chaos, which I think we all agree we're in right now. Yeah. So if you've ever wondered how to access the divine wisdom that surrounds us or how to remain balanced in a chaotic world, this episode's for you. And don't forget afterwards to join us at grieftogrowth.com/community to carry on the conversation there. And with that, I want to welcome Nancy Yearout.
Thanks for having me.
Nancy, it's great to have you here. So before we get started about I know you're communicating with angels. What is an angel?
Wow. They are, in my mind, God's messengers. Yeah, they're God's messengers, and they're here to guide us and comfort us.
Okay. And if angels, have they been human before, or are they a different class of being?
I believe that some have been human before. Mm-hmm. I think you can elevate yourself to that height, but I believe that, like my angel who stands right next to me, and we all have a guardian angel that stands right next to us, I think it can be either or. I think it can be, mm-hmm. That they were always an angel, or it could be that they've elevated to that degree. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And are angels, is a guardian angel different from a guide?
Yes, completely.
Okay.
Yes, right. Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Can we talk about that?
Sure. Well, we all come in with a guardian angel. When we're born, we have our guardian angel with us. And a lot of people can actually see their angels. Mine stands right next to me. We all have an angel that stands next to us. And if we realize that, we probably would go through life a little bit differently. But we do. And, they just want to be acknowledged. But we do have free will. And because we have free will, they really can intervene. They can nudge us. And as we wake up and elevate, they can give us signs, like people start to see the 1111 or 2222 or a feather or things like that, because the signs have always been here. It's just that we are now starting to see them because we are elevating our own consciousness. And that's kind of what's happening right now.
Okay. Yeah. And your ability to connect with your guardian angel and with other beings, when did that begin?
We all have the ability. First of all, I want to say that. because we all have the ability, and I can teach everybody how to do it today. And we can learn. You can learn in my book too. It's a guide to angel communication.
Mm-hmm.
But what happened with me is I wrote my first book, Wake Up, the Universe is Speaking to You. I was a real estate broker and I was a single mom and I needed to draw business to myself. So I started to understand how the universe worked and how to draw business to myself. So I wrote the book and I was on a lot of different podcasts and I really felt like people weren't hearing me. I really wanted to teach people about the energy and how it all worked and how we could all
Mm-hmm.
tap in. And so I started a podcast, right? High Road to Humanity. Well, the more I interviewed people and the more I connected with the divine source every day, with God, I would bring in the light every day. And the more I connected, the more connected I became, you see.
Mm-hmm.
And then people started to recognize the vibration, because when you raise your vibration, I would have spiritual people, and then people would see my angel. And then I've had other angel communicators, come on. And then it was a process. It was me acknowledging that I did have a guardian angel. But I think what really did it for me, Brian, was when I was doing readings for people. And you have to realize I'm just the conduit. The information comes in from spirit and does come from my guardian angel, which they're on a really high frequency, by the way. I want to say that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the difference between your guides and your angels. Your angels are on a higher frequency.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started to bring my angel in to answer questions for the clients is what really floored me, because she was able to tell people what they needed to know in a comforting, kind way to help people. And some of the information just blew my mind. And that's how it really, okay, fine. We all have a guardian angel. And so I've been communicating with her ever since. And then communicating with Gabriel with messages in the book for humanity and that type of thing. So we all
Okay.
have, we all do.
Okay. So we
Yeah.
each have a guardian angel, and
We
then
all
there are other angels that we've already heard of, Gabriel and Michael and the others. So how are they different?
Well, they all have a special, it's really interesting. They all have a special gift, just like we all have our own special gift.
Hmm.
There are angels that you can call in to help you if you're going on a trip, call in the travel angels. I've learned to call in the travel angels when I'm going somewhere. I've learned to call in the business angels if I'm going to do a project. The angels are here to help us, but again, we go back to the same thing. We have free will, and unless we call them in and ask them, they really can't assist. Now, there are times where there's an accident. There are certain angels that will help in a car accident, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. But generally, it's up to us to acknowledge their presence and to work with them. And when we work with them, they're grateful that they're acknowledged and they're grateful to help us.
Okay. Well,
Um,
it's interesting that you say that everyone has this ability, and I've talked to many mediums over the years, and
yeah.
I know that some say that we all have this ability, and I guess we all do to a certain extent. Now, I've never seen my guardian angel.
Oh,
Uh,
let's do it. Let's do
uh,
it. You want to connect? You want to connect while we're here? Is that okay?
sure,
All
sure.
right, let's do it. All right. Well, we're going to teach the audience. So I'm excited. Can you tell? I just think it's the greatest thing in the world to connect to God and connect to your angel. All
Hmm.
right. So the first thing we want to do when we're going to connect, first of all, is to connect to God. And I always say a prayer. So let me just say a quick prayer here. May
Sure.
the light of God surround us. May the power of God protect us wherever we are, God is. We ask only those who are holy and divine to come in today. And we ask that Brian can connect with his guardian angel. And we ask this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen. Okay. Now, the way you do this is you acknowledge your angel. So you want to say, I acknowledge my angel that's holy and divine. So go ahead and say that.
I acknowledge my angel. It's holy and divine.
Now, the next thing you're going to do is ask your angel's name. But before you do it, what you're going to get is the first thing that comes into your mind. You won't have time to think. Okay. So when you ask your angel and you're going to say it again, I'm asking my angel who's holy and divine, because you don't want to call in just anything. So you want to say, my angel who's holy and divine, what is your name? And listen. So go for it.
Okay. So my angel who's holy and divine, what is your name? And I have to say that I had a medium once tell me who my guardian or my primary guide is. So that's the first thing that came to me. Is it's Regina.
Okay. Well, she's an angel. If that's the first thing that came to you. So
Yeah.
now you know the difference. It came to you before you could even think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you communicate with your angel. And they're very grateful, to work with you. So you can
Yeah.
ask them anything. You can ask them, should I go here? Should I go there? What do you think about this outfit today? They don't care. They're here to help us. So nothing is too small, okay,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
ask your guardian angel. But now you can communicate. Now ask your angel if they're male or female or if they have no sex at all or whatever question you'd like to ask. Is that okay? Do you want to ask that?
Yeah. Well, as I said, Regina, so obviously female.
It's a few. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
what else do you want to ask? Is there something else you'd like to? If she has a
Um,
message, why don't you ask if she has a message for you?
okay. Do you have a message for me? And the first thing I get is that you're doing okay. You're doing fine.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm getting all hot. Can you tell? The energy gets really, really warm.
Yeah. Well, it's actually
Yeah.
weird because I've got my heater on and I'm getting hot too. So I'm gonna turn it
Yeah.
off.
It's the exchange of the energy. If you see, I don't know if anybody's watching me, but I start to sweat because the energy level gets so high when you're
Hmm.
with the angelic realm. And when you're looking for advice and you're looking for somebody who's really got your back, who better than your guardian angel? Because they've been standing next to you since birth.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hey there, I'm testing out a new feature. I'd love to get your feedback on it. It's called Fan Mail, and you can send me a message right from the show notes of the podcast. So look for the link that says send me a text. You can ask a question for a future podcast. You can suggest a guest or just give me any feedback you want. Just remember, it is one way. I can't text you back, and I will not have your name, your email address, or your phone number unless you include it in the message. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I think it's such an interesting concept because as I do this work and I deal with people that are going through difficult times and going through grief and everything,
Mhm.
the universal one of the universal things is like people feel alone. They feel abandoned, and it's kind of funny. I met a guy many years ago, and I was just starting the podcast, and we were talking about being human and the reasons for incarnation, all that stuff. And one of the things he says, one of the things we come here is to feel this feeling of abandonment, this feeling of like of being alone. I think we've all felt that, right? Sometimes, and it's the concept that we do have guardians, we do have guides, we do have angels. I think would change everything.
Right. Well, and let me just say the first thing that I teach in this book is how to connect to source, how to connect to God, because, and I'll just be honest, I went through a terrible divorce. And I was, after I started my podcast, and the more elevated I became, the less uh, attached we became, if
Mm,
that makes sense. And so,
yeah.
yeah, but what saved me was my relationship with the divine, with spirit, with God,
Hmm.
because I kept looking for love outside of myself, and the love was there all the time. I just needed to bring it in. So when you have this love for spirit and you feel the love of God inside of you, and you have the angels around you, you don't look for it outside of yourself anymore. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. And when you said that, it reminded me of people that have had near death experiences or any kind of spiritual transformative experience. The divorce rate is really high for people that have had NDEs because they become a different person.
Right.
So as you're growing spiritually and becoming more connected to something other than the earthly things, it makes sense that you could grow apart from someone who's not growing in that path.
Yeah. And there's nothing you can do about it. Everybody grows at their own pace. So you can't judge anybody, but you have to move forward for your own soul, is how I feel about this.
Yeah, I completely agree. I don't think it's anybody's fault, and that's another thing we have to another lesson, I guess, is we're here that not everybody is going to. I hate to use this term, but not everybody's going to wake up.
Right.
Not everybody's, and we can't force people to do something that they're not interested in doing.
Yeah, that's true. And it's hard.
It
It's really
is.
difficult, like I would come home every day and I'd tell my ex-husband, about my show and who I interviewed, and he didn't care. It's like, and I'm like so jazzed about it, and the more you do it, or of course, this, the more you interview people, the more you do this work, it's very exciting to learn all this stuff and to connect. It really is. It's cool stuff.
It is, and that's another good point, but it can also be very lonely
Yes.
because because you're growing away from the majority of people. So if you don't find people that you can connect with, and I'm fortunate I get to talk to people like you, all the time.
Mhm.
So I don't feel that isolation that I think other people do when they start to wake up and everybody else around them is still asleep.
You're right. Do you know what? High Road to Humanity, my podcast has saved me through the divorce and because I divorced in 2020.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And it saved me through the pandemic too, because I still was able to have conversations with people like you. Same thing. Didn't it
Hmm.
really help you to be able to, relate with other people?
I completely believe that people are meant to be in community, that we are tribal beings, that we are social beings. And even though you could be surrounded by people, it can be very lonely if they
Mhm.
don't have the same mindset that you do, and you can't discuss the things that are really important. And it's funny because I do this so much, it doesn't seem woo woo to me or whatever. And I have
Right.
people come on the program that maybe aren't quite as out about spirituality, and they'll be very shy about it. Yeah, I don't want to step on anybody's toes, and I do kind of believe that my loved one's still with me, and I'm like, you can say it here because this is
It's
this is
okay.
this is what I believe. This is what people are listening to. Otherwise, they wouldn't be listening.
Yeah,
But I think it's really important that as we're going through difficult times, which, as I said earlier, I think we all agree that we are, no matter which side of the aisle you happen to be on, we're all thinking this things are crazy right now.
they
And so I
are.
think we need that connection.
We absolutely do. It's funny. I think about TikTok and them trying to get rid of TikTok, but it's interesting to watch all the stuff that's going on. I'm in Connecticut, so we're watching the drones, and
Yeah.
we're watching these spheres, and we're trying to figure out what they are. And my light just went on. That's
Yeah.
so weird. Did you watch my light just
I,
went on?
I did see it. Come on.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. But the thing is, we're also aware of it. And because of social media, we can connect and let each other know, hey, I'm seeing it too. You're seeing what I'm seeing. I mean, it's actually been, I don't know whether it's a good thing or a bad thing as far as, the owner of it coming from, China and all of that. But bottom line is people are connecting and sharing information, I think,
Yeah.
which is kind of cool for whatever reasons.
Yeah, we live in an age where we don't know what to trust.
Right.
We know that governments lie to us. This is not a conspiracy theory. It's just a fact
It's a
that
fact.
and corporations are running things and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I view the internet as a way that, again, I think we need to be in community. This is a way that we can speak to each other. Now, again, there's a lot of misinformation that can be misused, but at
True.
least we know we can connect with each other and talk about what we're seeing, and
Hmm.
it does seem like things are being exposed, which I think is a good thing.
I agree with you. And back to what I was talking about connecting to the divine, we've lost our connection. This is why I mean, it's like my mission to teach people to connect back to God because we're energetic souls. We're these energetic beings in these bodies who've lost our connection to source. And
Hmm.
that is our energy source, that the love, the frequency that we get when we bring in the light, when we connect to God, we connect to spirit, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call it. It's that higher power and connecting to the earth energy, same thing. The earth has all these healing energies. And if we don't take off our shoes or visualize connecting, how do we get those energies? Especially now with the way of the world, it's even more important for us to connect. The reason I'm okay, I have to say this to be honest with you and let the audience know. The reason I'm so adamant about this is when you connect with God and you connect with the earth, you're more balanced. You're not the things that go on around us are going on around us, but you're not playing into it. You're more of an observer instead of
Hmm.
a participant. And that is why I just feel it's so important that people connect and stay balanced and stay in the love vibration and not buy into all this. You know what I mean?
I absolutely, completely agree with you. I think that the biggest problem with humanity is we have lost who we are. We've lost our
Yeah.
connection. We don't know who we are.
Right.
We don't know why we're here. We've got this very materialistic mindset that says that the universe is an accident, a cosmic accident. We don't, it came up. It's kind of crazy because the odds of the universe existing are like infinite. They're so big that no one could imagine it. It should not be here. Looking at natural causes, but we've been told that we're an accident and that we're just these biological beings, and we didn't come from anywhere. We're not going anywhere, and
Mm,
that's the mindset a lot of people have. And so they're
yeah.
so caught up in what's going on, and I can look at it and yeah, I could be upset about things, and this is not what I would prefer, but I have a different perspective as opposed to how permanent it is.
Hmm. And you can be the light, and that's what I do. I'm the light. I go out there when I go out into the world. I just, stay up, stay, balanced and keep my frequency high. And
Hmm.
that actually helps everybody else, around you. And what you're
Yeah,
doing right now helps, truly.
yeah. Well, and that's the other
Yeah.
thing. We feel so powerless. We feel like, okay, all this stuff is going on around us. There's no way I can control it. It's just out of control. It's just pure chaos. And, I've realized lately, and I've told people, your thoughts can help, your
Sure.
prayers can help, raising your own vibration can help. And again, I'm an engineer, so I'm a very rational person, but there's evidence that shows that doing those things can change the world, and we can each do those things ourselves.
Well, it's up to each and every one of us to work on ourselves, to raise our
Right.
own vibration. And we're all going to do it at a different time. But the more people that wake up and raise their vibration, the better off we all are as a collective. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
So, are you getting any guidance from angels, from Archangel Gabriel, what as to where we are, humanity, where we're
Yeah,
going, stuff
well,
like that?
there's a ton of messages in here from Gabriel in the back of the book. I can bring in my angel and ask her if she wants to bring a message in for humanity if you'd like. Do you want
That'd
to
be
do
great. Sure.
Okay, well, she's Haley. I work with Haley, and so what message do you have for humanity today? What do you want to say? Oh, she likes balance. If we could all take a moment and connect back to source, the energy, because of the loving vibration, and the energy revitalizes us physically, emotionally. It's a combination. When you are in the light, there's much peace rather than chaos. So she asked that we all take a moment, say a prayer, just connect, have a conversation. There is a source of love that you can speak to who will respond and watch over you. All we ask is that you approach each other with kindness, compassion, and love. And as you do, this compassion and love and the energy within it will expand. That's all I got.
Well,
I am sweating here. Sorry, I am sweating.
yeah, no, I understand
But
that.
I don't know. Yeah, I think she said it. That energy is going to expand. That's all I remember.
Yeah, well, you talked about balance and try loving each other, which it's kind of interesting to me that
Yeah,
people have near death experiences come back, and the message is universally like the same.
yeah.
It's all about love. It's about loving each other. It's about treating each other. And
With
I think
kindness.
sometimes
Yeah.
we look for deep, complicated things, and I think it really comes down to that.
Yeah, it's not that complicated. It really isn't. And you're right. Our words make a difference and our thoughts make a difference. And all we have to do is, everybody everybody has tough days. I have tough days too. We all do. But the weirdest thing, I have to tell you, when you connect to the divine, or even if I bring my angel in, like right now, just her coming in and being with me and giving that message, even though I don't remember everything she said, her energy is just like overwhelming for me, which brings my energy level up. Just connecting with our angel and God changes us completely. We're these energetic souls and we act like we're not, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. And that's the thing that, so you use the term God.
Mhm.
I noticed earlier you said Jesus. So are you a Christian?
Yeah, I grew up in the Church of Christ. My father taught Sunday school. I sang in the choir, all of that. And then I really got disillusioned with organized religion, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. I went
Mm-hmm.
to, and I really liked the Unity Church, and I went to the Unity Church. But even there, and this was probably 20 years ago when I went, there was so much judgment. I was by myself, I was young, and the minister was so happy to meet me, and his wife just looked holes through me. So I didn't feel welcome.
Hmm.
So it took me, so I went to different churches, and they all wanted to know what I did for a living and how much money I made.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I stopped going. And I am a minister myself because I do readings and I don't want to have to give out that information. And I like to keep it. But I will tell you, I don't like organized religion. I grew up in it, but I don't agree with all of it. I think that it's backwards. Instead of we just need to welcome each other and, worship together. But it's always about who has what and what can you do for me? And it comes down to money and things. And that's not what this is about at all.
Yeah.
And so I've lost that. I don't believe in it anymore. Even though, I believe in Jesus. Jesus has come to me many times, but I
Hmm.
don't believe in organized religion at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with it.
Well, it makes sense. I think a
Yeah.
lot of us have been on similar paths.
Yeah.
I was raised in the church. My grandfather was the pastor of our church. I was raised Pentecostal,
Hmm.
and it's like this doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It's funny, but I do kind of find myself kind of coming back around in a different way, though. I was listening this morning to Swedenborg. I don't know if you've heard the podcast Swedenborg in Life, but um, Emanuel Swedenborg was a 17th century philosopher, scientist, politician, etc. And he started having all these experiences where God was taking him into heaven, the angels and all that stuff. And so he writes this stuff about you know, the inner meaning of the Bible and stuff. It's pretty wild stuff,
Hmm.
but it makes a lot more sense than the way the church has distorted the message of Jesus.
Well, yeah, it goes back to I have a Bible my father gave me from Scotland from the 1700s. So it's been in our family that long. So it's
Hmm.
very, very old. And it reads completely different than the Bible today. So
Hmm.
if I want to read a scripture, I will read it in the King James version or whatever today, but then I'll go to the family Bible and realize that's not what they meant. And you have to, yeah, it's just crazy. And even in the Bible from the 1700s, it says in the very beginning that it was that it may not all be accurate because of the translation, because it was translated, from a different language. So I think it's been a lot of it's been lost in translation, some of it lost on purpose in translation,
Yeah.
but it's really interesting to read the Bible that I had from long ago to now. It's
Yeah.
quite different. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it is. And the thing about religion is, I think the need for religion is kind of falling away.
Yeah.
Religion it's a great, I call it's like training wheels. A lot of times we come up in it and it tells us some good things like be nice to each other and, God is love and stuff like that. But I think that a lot of people end up outgrowing that and going to something more universal. And and it's been really interesting and fascinating to study other religions, to study Buddhism and Kabbalah and
Hmm.
Hinduism, et cetera, and find out that there's universal truth that permeates all of it. So I see mankind getting to a point where it's like we don't need religion anymore because we're going to say this is just truth. We don't have to put labels on it.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi there. I'm really excited to tell you about my latest ebook. It's 4 lessons that you can learn from the near-death experience without going through all the trouble of dying to learn them. I've been studying NDEs for several years now. I am completely convinced that not only are they 100% real, but that there's some very universal wisdom that we can get from the near-death experience. And I've distilled that down in this book into 4 short lessons. And I've also given you all the reasons why I believe that NDEs are absolutely real. So go to www.grieftogrowth.com/NDE lessons to pick it up for free. www.growth.com/NDE lessons. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, if we could all just be real and be kind to each other, wouldn't that change things?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, think about it. If we just be honest with each other, that's, there's so much deception and so many untruths right now, but it's coming out and it's changing. And I do see a change. And it's exciting to see the change.
It is, and it's a lot of stuff that Jesus said. I'm also a big fan of Jesus, and he said things like, "Don't call any man father." Basically, he was like, "Go straight to the source," which is what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to go through a priest. We don't have to go through a pastor. We don't need someone to read the scripture, for us.
Yeah.
We can go direct, and I think people are starting to get to the level where it's like that's what we want to do.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting to think that that's how the Catholic Church was. You couldn't even have a Bible. I didn't know that for a long time. My dad told me that
Mm-hmm.
That they didn't have Bible. Same things with the Jewish religion. You have to go through, the rabbi or whatever. To me, it's like, come on, we're all here. We're all souls. Just connect. God wants to.
And it's funny for hundreds, almost thousands of years, people accepted that, and the Catholic Church, not to pick on them, but this is what man does. The church and interjected themselves between the people and God and said,
absolutely.
"Okay, you don't need to read the scriptures. We'll read it for you." It's hard to believe for people that are younger than I am. For example, the Mass was said in Latin with the priest back to you. So he would be facing the altar, mumbling the Mass, and the people in the pews, first of all, they didn't understand the language, and second, they couldn't really hear it. So some of the words we have, I think, like the word hocus pocus and abracadabra, I think are 2 words that came from people misunderstanding what the priest was saying. So it's wild that they were like, "Let us do this for you," and now we can't even imagine that because now we have access to pretty much everything.
Or maybe they said it on purpose. I don't know. You just never know. Oh my gosh. Well, it's true. Well, we have minds of our own and we have to stand in our truth. And that's where I think where a lot of people say, be your authentic self. And if you really go within and you really spend some time with yourself and with the divine, I think we all find that connection,
Yeah. So what are some tips that people can use? Because when we say connect with God, or what are people, how do I do that? How do I start?
Well, let me tell you what I've done that's really helped me a lot. When I get up in the morning, I say a prayer and I journal. That has been the biggest help for me, is to write down my thoughts onto paper. The ink makes it stick, and you wake up in the morning and you have all the stuff in your head.
Mm-hmm.
And I write to God every day. Okay, dear God, I need your assistance with this. Can you please, and it's how you say it. I need your assistance. Can you please guide me, show me, those kind of things. So use that kind of verbiage. You can speak it, but writing it down seems to really just like get it out. And then I pray, and then I bring in the light and I ground down to Mother Earth every day.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. But I really feel like just connecting takes 2 seconds. I visualize light coming down through the top of my head, through the crown chakra, down through my body, out my arms, down through the torso, down my legs, out my feet. And if you can visualize that light coming in, and it really does come in, you guys, it changes your body. It changes how you feel and you become more joyful. That and just writing has really helped me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those 2 things.
You mentioned balance a couple of times, and I noticed you talk about connecting to God, and you usually balance that out with connecting with Mother Earth also. So why is it
Mhm.
important to connect to both?
Well, because as above, so below. So below there is light. And what I do is Mother Earth has energy. She's full of energy. The worst thing we've ever done is put shoes on. If we didn't have shoes on all the time, we would walk out onto the ground and we would feel her energy. So it's really important to do that as often as you can. If it's cold and you can't do that, then the visualization of roots coming out of your feet going down into the ground is perfect. You're still visualizing it. It's still happening. It's energetic. Why
Hmm.
is it happening? Because you're visualizing and it's energetic. So I visualize the roots going all the way down to the core to where I hit light and I bring the light up. So I don't
Hmm.
just bring the light down, I bring the light up too,
Hmm.
because I want to connect to that energy of Mother Earth. And I ask her and thank her for the energy. And it's healing. It's
Yeah.
totally healing. Yeah.
Yeah, as we talk about, that's I think that's one of the things that's been lost from Christianity, which became a very patriarchal system. You hear about the Father, you hear about the Son, and you hear about the Holy Spirit, which
Right.
doesn't really seem to have a gender, but the feminine just got wiped out of Christianity,
Totally
and
whacked. Yeah.
and that's where I think some of these other traditions, because as you talk about, I think about it sounds like Native American more, Father God and Mother Earth,
Yeah.
which we don't have that in modern Western Christianity. I don't want to lump it all together,
Hmm.
but I remember reading a book many years ago by a pastor. Is it okay to call God Mother? Which was really interesting because it was about how we've lost that feminine from our
Hmm.
our spirituality.
Well, there is the mother and the father aspect. And so, yeah, I look at her as Mother Earth. That is, and this is a gift. We look at things all wrong. We should be grateful that we are here, that she's letting us inhabit her, and what we have done is not honor her. And I think that has been a real, real problem, but she does have healing energy that really will help us.
Hmm.
And yeah, I agree with you. The mother, father, God aspect has just been like lost but that was done on purpose in my mind. That was
Oh yeah.
done, so men could control. I think women have a lot of spiritual power and they wanted to kind of squash that. My feeling on that one. That's what I think.
Yeah, I agree. It was funny. I was on a guest on another podcast the other day. We were talking about the balancing of the energies, and the feminine and the masculine, as we term them, because they don't have sexes, but they're different types of energies. And I think we're way too far on the masculine. And he was like, "Yeah, but they're trying to feminize men. They're trying to make men into women." And I'm like, "No, I don't think that's what we're trying to do here." But
I think
um,
people are lost. People are lost. Men need to be men and women need to be women. I don't know. All this craziness I feel is evil. I'm sorry. That's what I think about it. I think it's weird and I think it's wrong. I think people just need to be who they are. Be who.
Yeah, I think they are. But I don't think people. I mean, everybody might feel a little bit different about this. I think there's too much male energy, period, in,
Yes.
in in our planet, and too much male energy in men, which, by the way, hurts men too. It's not just that it hurts women. It doesn't allow us to be full human beings. And this guy and I were talking about like men expressing emotions. And he goes, "Well, you can't be weak." You know, and I said, "What?" He goes, "No, you can't be weak." And he's a lot younger than I am, but he says, "You can't be weak in front of women because they'll just pounce on you." And I'm like, "Wow, okay, well, I've been out of the dating world for like 40 years, so I don't know that maybe that's true, but that's not what I don't think we're trying to say that men, cannot express emotions, but yeah, it was
Well, we're back to balance again. We've lost the balance.
right,
Okay.
exactly,
So we need to come back into balance where, we have the feminine and the masculine. And yeah, a lot of women, I think, have tried to emasculate men. I don't know why, but they need to be who they are. And we need, it just needs to be equal. There needs to be a balance, like equality in everything. We're still not equal. Even to this day. I mean, honestly, even in the workplace, it's
right.
still not equal, and it's a sad thing, but we're all, I don't know, we've got to get to this point where we all realize we're these souls in these bodies and gender is really not the key.
That's
It's,
the thing.
you
That's,
know,
yeah, that's the thing. And that's the one of the points, I guess, and that's when we start to realize that we're not our bodies, and that we've been both genders at various times in our
right,
past,
right.
and we just happen to embody this particular gender at this time, but that's not who we are. And I
Mhm.
think we need a balance in society, and we also need a balance within ourselves of both of those energies, because if you're too quote unquote masculine and you're just totally logical and you never listen to intuition or emotion, then that's going to lead you down a very dark path one direction.
Right.
But also, if you just solely rely on emotion, then that could lead you astray. Also, we've got to have that balance between the two, even within ourselves.
No, that's absolutely true. And I think men do need to get back that it's okay to use your emotions. I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to learn. And how are we going to learn? Because we don't have emotions in the etheric body. So we come here to be in these bodies so we can experience emotions. That's to me, if people could realize that.
That's interesting. So we don't have emotions in the etheric body.
No, I think that's why we come here on earth to learn,
Yeah.
experience, right? Because when we come out of our body, you can't feel like you do down here. So it's different. So we come here to experience. So yeah, it'd be really difficult if you didn't experience those emotions. Then you'd have to come and do it all again.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like, we come here to experience emotion. We come here to experience the push and the pull,
Yes.
to even have difficulties, because those difficulties push us to grow and push us to overcome. And I
Yes.
think we come from a place where we don't have that push and pull to experience that, so that we can know the contrast. There's old saying, you can't know what light is without knowing what dark is. You can't know
That's
what
right.
hot is without knowing what cold is, etc. And so I think that, yeah, I agree. We're here to experience it, and I think also to learn to balance those things out. And I know with my experience and a lot of men's experience in our culture is like, don't trust your emotions. And the reason I became an engineer was because I was like, I like engineering because there's a right answer. It's math, it's chemistry, it's physics.
Yeah.
You can design something, you can run an experiment, you know exactly how it's going to turn out. And I
Mhm.
like right answers. And it took me a long time in life to figure out that that's not how life is. If you're designing a bridge, or you're creating a chemical product, I'm a chemical engineer, then yeah, that works. But if you're trying to make a decision on who you're going to marry, logic's not going to get you there.
Exactly. So yeah, we're here to learn. We absolutely are here to learn. And our angels are here to help us and God's here to guide us. It's us. This is what I really think. I think we're all down here to learn. I wouldn't have um I wouldn't be where I'm at today if I wouldn't have gone through tragedy. I wouldn't have connected with God so much if I wouldn't have been catapulted to. When you get to a
Hmm.
point where you're like, what do I do now? That's when you start working on yourself and you really connect back to God. And I think we're here to learn to connect back to God so that we all eventually go back to spirit, God, whatever you want to say. I
Hmm.
think we're here to learn, and then we all go back to where we came from originally. That's what I think. We go back to source.
Yeah, well, I haven't talked to a person yet who's been on my podcast who's gotten to where they are. Let's see if this is true, without going through some sort of quote unquote tragedy or multiple tragedies, because I
Mhm.
believe those are the things that do wake us up. And when you can be grateful even
Yep.
for that thing that hurt you so bad, worse than anything else that has ever hurt you, when you can learn to be grateful for that, I think that's where you're getting closer to where we're meant to be here.
Yep. You're absolutely right. Yes, that's true. That's true. We have to go through the hard things. Life is not easy and it's not meant to be. That's a hard thing to realize, but it gets better after you start to realize, that we're here to learn and that, how can I say this? Not everything's going to be perfect, but look at things as lessons instead of it's happening to me, think it's happening for me on my behalf, because the more you learn, the more you elevate your soul.
Right. Right. And
Well,
that dichotomy, I guess is the word, of being human.
right.
And again, we get to the point, you can get to the point, and I'm not there, where you can look at everything as like, this is a lesson. This is here for me. This is not happening to me.
Hmm.
And so, in that way, it does take the sting out of it, at least, right? Because we're not a victim anymore.
Right. That's
It's
it.
it's like, God,
Yeah.
why did you do this to me?
Yeah.
It's more like, okay, what am I here to learn? What can I learn from this? And
Hmm.
as I'm getting older, I can look back and I can see practical things of this, right? So when I say this is not just theory, I was divorced when I was very young, and it was a very short, very fiery relationship. I mean, we were married for like less than a year, or about a year. And I remember when I met my wife, that I've been married to now for 34 years. She goes, "I really wish you weren't divorced, because I don't really want to date a divorced person." And I said, if I weren't divorced, I wouldn't be the person I am now.
Yeah.
So I'm grateful for that relationship that I went through, even though it was terrible. It was awful. It was violent. I'm grateful for what I went through, because it taught me something, and it's part of what made me who I am today.
Right.
I got fired from a job when my daughter was 9 months old, and
Oh,
that seemed like a terrible thing, but it opened up doors, and it forced me to take opportunities that I would otherwise not have taken. If I would have just stayed in that job where it was comfortable, I was making good money, I had a salary, and I ended up taking a job that was 100% commission, and it turned out to be great. So, people that listen to the podcast have heard me tell these stories before, but the reason I say this is, like, you can look at your own life, you can, right? And you
hmm.
know that this thing that when you were going through it was hell on earth, it propelled you forward.
Exactly. And I don't know, it seems like it's either a death, a loss of a job, a divorce, it's always something like that. You're absolutely right. Because I would have stayed, doing what I was doing. I would have stayed married,
Hmm.
but I was pushed. I was pushed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the baby bird getting pushed out of the nest, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And the
Fly.
universe does it too. And if you get too comfortable, you're absolutely right. I thought that was interesting that you said that, because it seems like when you get too comfortable, that's when the universe really does push you.
Hmm.
Okay, you're too comfortable. We're going to do something different now. You've got another lesson to learn. I'm just like, what?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
It's
it's funny because
true.
I believe this, but then I'm like, okay, enough lessons. I'm at the point now where I'm just ready to cruise for the rest of the
Oh
way.
no, it keeps going.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I hear you. But that's my goal, is to really, teach people how to connect. And I don't want to make it a scary thing. I want to make it a really cool thing, to
yeah.
connect. It's just like we're these computers that need to plug back into the motherboard, you know what I'm saying? So,
Well, yeah. I think it's really necessary.
it is
As you said,
necessary.
it's our energy source. I often use the analogy of, like, human beings are like batteries.
Yeah.
We only have so much energy from within, or, well, that's not really true either, but just using the analogy of a battery, we only
Mhm.
have so much energy, and then we have to recharge.
Right.
So
No,
we can't always be putting out. We've got to plug in.
yeah, I was just going to say that's something I can tell the audience. Of course, I do this, but I ask the angels. I put my hands out in the morning just like this, and I say, "Okay, angels who are holy and divine, fill me up with your light." And you should do this in the morning, Brian, because I mean, they fill me up with so much cool light,
Hmm.
and you can feel it coming in your hands.
Hmm.
It's bizarre. And instead of drinking the coffee, I mean, like I drink my coffee, but then I'm like, oh, I'm drinking too much coffee. I just need light.
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? It's like changing it up and real. I know it sounds weird, but it's true. If you put your hands out like this and you ask, again, holy and divine angels, just don't call anything in, then,
right.
you can feel that love energy coming into your body. You really can.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Again, being the rational person I am, I'm like, okay, is there really energy coming into my hands? This is the way I used to think about it, but now I realize
Right.
that some of these things are analogies, but some of them are actually literally true. And there are different ways to plug in. Like for me, I do a gratitude practice every morning when I wake up.
Okay.
So that's something that works for me. I think about things that I'm grateful for.
Mhm.
I take a long walk every morning before I start work. I walk for almost 2 hour and 45 minutes, and I walk and I listen to podcasts and stuff like that.
Oh, I love
So
that.
that charges me up so that when I get ready to start my day, I've got that energy in the morning. And
Yeah.
then I took this meditation practice from a guy named Kelvin Chin, and so I try to meditate twice a day, especially during the week when I'm doing all the work.
Yeah.
So after I walk, I come back, I work for a little while. Then when I shower, I'll meditate, and then after lunch, after I get off this interview with you, I'll meditate again before my afternoon session. So it's
Okay.
like constantly recharging,
Yes.
even during the day.
Yeah. Right. And then one more thing that I didn't mention that's super, super important is affirmations. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do affirmations every day. My affirmations change, throughout time, depending
Mm-hmm.
upon what's going on. But when I don't do my affirmations, things don't go as smoothly. But when I do my affirmations, when I say, actually take the time, and even if I just say every day and every way I'm getting better and better. Somebody from Australia or somewhere taught me that. And so I'll say that, or I'm healthy, wealthy, and wise. I have sparkling blue eyes. I have different ones that rhyme that I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you should say them 3 times. I don't know why, but that's my deal. And affirmations really, really, you're putting that energy out and it just heightens your vibration and it
Mm-hmm.
just makes you feel better. And when you put that really good energy out, that's what comes back. So I love affirmations. I love what you do. I got to start walking in the morning. I'm going to do that. I got
So
to get my butt out
it
there.
it's really funny you mentioned that particular
What?
affirmation. Every day in every way, I'm getting better and better and better is the way
Yep.
I heard it. And this guy
Yep.
said, say that 100 times a day for 100 days. It was a unity pastor actually. I heard
Yeah.
giving the sermon,
Yeah.
and I did it. I can't say I did it for 100 days, but those affirmations work. And
Yes.
again, so from a perspective of, does it draw in energy? Does it change your vibration? Does it change your brain chemistry? The answer is yes.
Yeah.
I think it's all of the above.
Yeah.
It's retraining your brain. I teach people mental fitness, and just like you go to the gym and you work out your body, you've got to retrain your brain. You've got to keep your mind strong. You've got to keep your spirit strong.
Mhm.
So those affirmations can be very helpful because we have so many negative messages. And what I've realized is we come into the world, I believe we come in pure. And then we get bombarded by all these messages from religion, from teachers, from parents, from society that says you're less than, you're less than, you're less than.
Mhm.
And to counteract that, we've got to intentionally tell ourselves, I'm not that, I'm this. I am divine. And when it comes to connecting, I was always again taught that God is out there, God is this big guy in the sky, God is, in charge, etc. And I've learned it's really more about turning within.
Mhm.
So even though there's this thing about, is God the universe or is God me? It's the answer is yes. We're all parts of that, and the source of our energy is actually within us.
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah. Affirmations work. I
Mm-hmm.
used to say affirmations. I'll tell you this really quickly. We probably got to get out of here soon. But
Have a good
when I
time.
was a single mom, and before I wrote my first book, and I talk about it in my first book. I don't know if I have it sitting here. Yeah, I do. It's my first book, Wake Up, the Universe is Speaking to. And the reason
Mm-hmm.
I wrote this, I'll tell you what, is I had a mentor and I became a real estate agent in New Mexico and I needed to sell stuff. And I was a single mom. And so I had a mentor and her name was Naomi, and she'd say, draw it in. And I'd say, what do you mean? She'd say, draw it in. And so draw in the business. So I would drive to work and I'd say, I saw houses like crazy. I saw houses like crazy. And I did. I was rookie of the year. I sold tons of houses.
Mm-hmm.
But what I learned was, and that's why I wrote the book, because I was so excited that I learned that you could draw business to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You could do anything as long as, and you have to believe it. Let me just say this. You can't just say it. You have to really believe it with your heart and soul that you are drawing the business to yourself. But these affirmations really, really work and they really make a difference. And that's how I did well, is
Mm-hmm.
using affirmations every day. Yeah. So, I mean, I'm just saying it does work. It absolutely works.
Yeah, I believe it does. And as I said, my mind always goes to my logical mind, like how does it work? And I think it works on multiple levels.
Yeah, it does.
So and like I said, if we when we really start to turn within, this is why meditation or mindfulness is so important to start to think about our thoughts, to understand that we're not our thoughts, that they don't just happen to us, that we can control them and we choose them, and we can choose which ones. Now, they will come in sometimes, it feels like randomly, but we can choose whether we're going to accept it or not, whether we're going to hold on to it or not.
Mhm.
And if you start to analyze your thoughts, most of us have 60, 70, 80% negative thoughts. It's not the way that you would draw it up if you wanted to. So we have to really intentionally drive those out and replace them with positive thoughts. And
Mhm.
then, as you said, in your case, you have more confidence. You start looking for opportunities. You start seeing opportunities.
Mhm.
And yes, maybe on a metaphysical level, more opportunities do actually exist.
Yeah.
But however it works, it does work.
It does. Well, you're talking about reprogramming, which is what we all have to do
Hmm.
because we're all taught this stuff as kids. And I started to realize this happened a few years back. I was saying stuff my mom would say, and I'm like,
Oh,
well,
we
how
all
did
do.
that
Yeah.
even come out of my mouth? Where did that come from? And it's a program. So
Hmm.
I started to realize, probably like you did a few years back, that I was like, I had to change the program. I had to
Hmm.
change it up, and it takes a while. But yeah, you start to pay attention to your thoughts, and you start to go, "Wait a minute, that's not what I would say. That's what somebody else told me to say, or what my
Yeah.
mom would say, or my dad would say." Did you ever
Yeah.
catch yourself doing that?
Yeah, yeah, it's your parents because you spend so much time with them. And then I
Yeah,
realized, okay, it's my parents got it from their parents, so
yeah,
it's not their fault, right? But it's not just them. I was like, okay, it's the church. It's the things the church taught us about ourselves. It's the thing our teachers taught us in school. It's the
hmm
things that the materialists tell us about ourselves even now. You're
hmm
just a biological robot in a meaningless universe. You're an accident. You came from nowhere. When your brain came online, whenever that consciousness hit, that's when you began. When your brain goes offline, that's when you're going to end. So, eat, drink, and be merry because this is it.
Isn't that
Uh,
sad?
I think it's terrible.
Mhm.
It's terrible, and I can't even. I went through a phase where I was going through my dark night of the soul, where that I entertained that thought for a while, and it's like staring into the abyss. I don't
Mhm.
know. People walk around all day, every day, believing that and function, because that's not who we are.
Yeah,
And
well, they don't, and that's why we have so many issues because we're back to the same thing. We've lost our connection to source.
right, right,
Yeah. We're
yeah,
back to the same. Yeah. I'm going to say, honestly, Brian, all the people I've interviewed, and you probably interviewed a lot too. I've interviewed probably 400 and some people on my show.
hmm
And what everybody, the bottom line is connecting.
hmm
It
yeah,
really is. Yeah.
it
No
is.
matter who I've interviewed or what book they wrote, it's really about connecting.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
about
I
being,
think it's about. Yeah, I would say just a little bit different way, but same thing. It's about remembering who we are.
yeah.
Because and it's I still, this idea I still wonder about. It's like, okay, we're these divine beings that, I think Marianne Williamson said it, and C.S. Lewis has said it also. If we could see each other as we really are, we would follow our knees, and the awesomeness that we are. So we're
Yeah.
these divine beings, and we say, okay, I'm going to go into that biological weak body on that crazy planet for 70, 80 years and try to remember who I am. It's like the ultimate game of hide and seek with yourself.
It is. There's days where I'm like, wow, I really signed up for this.
Yeah,
I even
yeah.
said the other day, I will tell you the other day, I said, God, I must have thought this was going to be really easy, huh? Because I wouldn't have signed up for it otherwise.
That seems to be another thing that we do when we're spirit. We forget, and we say, "Oh yeah, I'll do that. That'll
I'll do
that'll
that.
be that'll be fine. I'll learn so much." And I've heard people that have had between life regression say that their spirit guides are going, "Yeah, are you sure? You might want to think about that." It's like, "Oh yeah, I could do it."
Yeah. Yeah, I must have been one of those. Because I was like, dude, this is not easy. And you know what? That's okay. I'm really looking forward to going home after this. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing, it was funny because someone talked about, Jimmy Carter just passed away as we're
I
recording this like
know. I
yesterday.
saw that. Yeah. God
And they
bless.
said, isn't that, it's tragic, it's terrible. And but they didn't say it was terrible, but they said, I think he felt like he could go service better from the other side than he could from here,
Mm,
which is, maybe true, probably true. But
mm,
the other thing is all of our bodies have an expiration date,
yeah.
whether it's my daughter was 15, but it's 15 years, 50 years, 100 years, 110 years. We're not meant to be here forever.
Mm.
So it's not a tragedy when we go home. And when people like you and I say, I'm looking forward to going home, some people will go, oh, isn't that sad? And I'm
No.
like, it's like, no, it's not sad at all.
No, it's funny, I actually do. There's a lot I want to do before I go, but I'm going to do everything I can to help humanity before I leave. That's the goal.
That's the way I feel too. And I have to say, when my daughter passed away, I was like,
God
okay,
bless. Is
I'm
that your
ready to
daughter
go.
behind you?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So when she passed away, I was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's go. I don't need to be here
Aw,
anymore.
aw.
But now I'm like, yeah, I do still have things to do. And
Mm,
I tell people it's like it's great either way. If I stay here for a while and keep working, that's great. But it's also when you understand who we are and why we're here and where we're going, then hopefully you'll look forward to it too.
mhm,
Because that is our true home. And this place at best is a shadow of that. It reminds me, C.S. Lewis talked about how we're like toddlers playing with mud pies, when we could have a day at the beach or something, because
mm,
we don't even understand what's waiting for us. And I think the more, like you were talking about connecting, the more that we connect and the more we feel that presence and start to have lucid dreams and stuff like that, it's
mhm,
like you start to get that longing. It's like when you've been on vacation for a while and you're
mm.
like, I'm ready to go home now.
Well, yeah, and you start to see the signs, and I'm sure you do, and I talk about it in the book too. You start to see the signs because the universe has always given us signs. You just start to see them when you start to wake up. I mean, I'm sure that's happened to you as well. And,
Hmm.
it's confirmation that you're on the right path, confirmation that you're not alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Well, so the
yeah.
thing is, what we're talking about today is like, as we go through this, and as we feel like we're alone, even though, again, I believe that was set up for us to feel that way so we could learn to reconnect, but we can reconnect and we don't have to go through it alone. And we can find like minded people to talk to, which, you and I are fortunate to be able to do. But
Yeah.
we can also turn to our angels and our guides, and they are not imaginary. They're not, we're not fooling ourselves when we do those things. We do have that source that we can reach out to.
Mhm. We do.
So remind Nancy of people of the name of your books and where people can find out more about you.
Yeah, so it's a guide to angel communication and spiritual laws by Nancy Yearout. You can visit my website, nancyyearout.com, and my podcast is High Road to Humanity. And you can also find me on YouTube under High Road to Humanity.
Awesome. Well, Nancy, thanks so much for being here today. Any
Thank
last
you.
messages from you or from your angels?
Let's see. Haley, do you have anything you want to say? Acknowledge your angel, she says. I love that. Yeah, blessings to everybody on this holiday season. I wish everybody a prosperous and a joyful 2025.
All right. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey there, if you liked this episode, come on over and talk about it. Let me know what you liked. If you didn't like this episode, come on over and talk about it. Let me know what you didn't like. Go to grieftogrowth.com/community and look for Talk About the Podcast. I'll see you there.